Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're heading to the Scottish Highlands, where mist clings to ancient hills and sheep wander freely across heather-covered moorlands. Let your breathing slow. Release the tension in your shoulders. There's nowhere you need to be but here. The air tastes different up here in the Highlands. Clean, sharp, like water from a mountain spring. It fills your lungs and somehow makes everything feel lighter. You've arrived just as dawn begins to soften the darkness, painting the sky in shades of pearl and dusty rose. The landscape stretches endlessly before you. Rolling hills covered in purple heather, stone walls meandering across fields, and everywhere those distinctive white shapes dotting the hillsides. Highland sheep, dozens of them, perhaps hundreds, scattered across the moorland like clouds that fell to earth and decided to stay. Your footsteps are quiet on the dirt path. Dew clings to everything, making the grass sparkle where the first rays of sunlight touch it. There's a stillness here that you can't find anywhere else, a quietness so complete that you can hear your own heartbeat. Then, breaking the silence, comes a soft bleat from somewhere up ahead. It's answered by another, then another, creating a gentle chorus that echoes across the valley. You follow the sound, moving slowly, in no particular hurry. Time operates differently here. There are no schedules, no rushing, no demands pulling you in different directions. Just you, the path, and the sheep who've called these hills home for generations. The track winds between clumps of gorse and wild thyme, releasing their fragrance with every brush of your legs against the plants. It's intoxicating in the most soothing way possible. A low stone wall appears on your right, its rocks covered in lichen that's been growing for decades, maybe centuries. You run your hand along the top as you walk, feeling the cool roughness of the stone, the slight dampness from the morning mist. Each rock was placed by hand, fitted together without mortar, yet the wall has stood firm through countless Highland winters. There's something reassuring about that kind of permanence. The bleating grows closer. Rounding a bend, you spot them, a small flock of about 20 sheep grazing peacefully in a natural hollow between two hills. They're Scottish black-faced sheep, with their distinctive white wool and black faces, their curved horns catching the early light. One raises its head to look at you, chewing thoughtfully, completely unbothered by your presence. Its eyes are calm, ancient somehow, as if it holds knowledge of every season that's passed over these hills. You settle yourself on a flat rock nearby, content to simply watch. The sheep move with unhurried purpose, nibbling at grass, occasionally lifting their heads to survey their domain before returning to their grazing. A lamb stays close to its mother, mimicking her movements, learning the rhythms of Highland life. When she takes 3 steps forward, the lamb takes 3 steps forward. When she pauses to scratch her ear with a back hoof, the lamb attempts the same manoeuvre, wobbling slightly, but managing it. The sun climbs higher, burning away the last wisps of mist. Warmth begins to spread across the landscape, gentle and gradual. One of the older ewes moves away from the group, heading toward a patch of particularly lush grass near a small stream. Water trickles over smooth stones, creating a sound like wind chimes made of liquid crystal. The ewe drinks deeply, then stands perfectly still, water dripping from her chin, staring at something only she can see. You notice how the sheep seem to breathe in unison, their woolly sides expanding and contracting in a slow, steady rhythm. It's hypnotic. Without realizing it, your own breathing has adjusted to match theirs. In, out, each breath deeper and more relaxed than the last. A cloud drifts across the sun, casting a brief shadow over the hollow. The temperature drops just slightly, enough to notice, but not enough to be uncomfortable. You pull your jacket a little tighter and sink deeper into your observation. 2 sheep have wandered close to each other, their sides touching as they graze. There's companionship in that simple contact, a wordless understanding that being alone is fine, but being together is better. Somewhere in the distance you hear the faint jingle of a bell. A shepherd perhaps, though you can't see them. The sound fades as quickly as it came, absorbed by the vastness of the moor. The sheep don't react. They've heard that bell countless times. Know it means safety, routine, the familiar patterns of pastoral life. One particularly fluffy sheep, its wool so thick it looks almost spherical, has found a sunny spot and decided to lie down. It circles 3 times, an ancient ritual, before settling onto the grass with a satisfied grunt. Within moments, its eyes drift closed. The others continue their grazing around it, occasionally stepping carefully over its outstretched legs, respecting its need for rest. You watch as more sheep begin to settle. It's not nap time exactly, but rather a communal decision that the morning's grazing has been sufficient, that the sun is warm enough, that this moment is perfect for simply being. They fold their legs beneath them, tuck their heads down, and let their eyes fall half closed in that state between sleeping and waking, where everything feels soft and safe. The lamb has curled up against its mother's side, fitting perfectly into the curve of her body. She shifts slightly, adjusting to provide maximum comfort, then rests her chin gently on the lamb's back. Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're returning to the Scottish Highlands, where sheep graze peacefully on ancient moorland. Let yourself sink deeper into comfort as we continue our quiet observation of these gentle creatures in their timeless home. Take a slow breath, and let's drift back to that tranquil hillside. Their breathing creates small clouds in the cooling air, visible puffs of warmth that dissipate almost instantly. You count them without meaning to. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3. The rhythm never falters. It's steadier than any clock, more reliable than any metronome. This is time measured not in minutes but in heartbeats, in the slow rise and fall of woolly chests. A raven calls from somewhere high above, its voice carrying across the emptiness. The sound is neither threatening nor comforting, simply present. It belongs here as much as the sheep, as much as the heather, as much as the ancient stones that dot the landscape like sleeping giants. The sheep barely acknowledge it. Their ears twitch slightly, registering the sound, then return to their previous position. You notice how each sheep has its own personality, expressed in the smallest gestures. One ewe constantly checks on the others, lifting her head every few moments to scan the group. Another seems lost in thought, staring at the horizon as though pondering great mysteries. A third is clearly the optimist, always moving toward the next patch of grass with enthusiasm, certain that this one will be even better than the last. The sun has reached its midday height, though you couldn't say exactly when that happened. Time has become something abstract, unimportant. What matters is the warmth on your face, the softness of the grass beneath you, the gentle sounds of the flock. A bee drifts past, heavy with pollen, weaving between purple heather blooms. It works with the same unhurried dedication as the sheep, moving from flower to flower with purpose but without urgency. One of the lambs has discovered a small hillock and decided it's worth investigating. It scrambles up the gentle slope, its small hooves finding purchase on the uneven ground. At the top, it stands proud for a moment, surveying the world from this new vantage point that's perhaps 2 feet higher than before. But the triumph is short-lived. Within seconds, it's scrambling back down to rejoin the safety of the group, its brief adventure complete. The oldest sheep in the flock, you can tell by the greying around her muzzle and the deliberate way she moves, has positioned herself at the edge of the group. She's not separate exactly, but maintaining a watchful distance. Her eyes, dark and knowing, sweep across the moor periodically. She's seen many seasons, this one. Survived countless storms, raised numerous lambs, outlasted threats you can only imagine. There's wisdom in her stillness, earned through years of simply being present in this place. A breeze picks up stronger than before, rippling through the sheep's wool like wind through wheat fields. They lean into it slightly, instinctively adjusting their stance. The sound it makes passing through the hollow is like a long, slow exhale. The heather bends and straightens, Even the grass seems to breathe. 3 sheep have formed a small cluster near a patch of wildflowers. They're not grazing, just standing close together, sides touching. There's communication happening in that contact, information passed through proximity. We're here. You're safe. All is well. They don't need words for this. The pressure of wool against wool says everything necessary. The lamb has found a butterfly. It watches, fascinated, as the orange and black wings open and close. The butterfly lands on a thistle bloom, just inches from the lamb's nose. For several seconds, neither moves. It's a moment of pure wonder, the kind that requires no understanding, only observation. Then the butterfly lifts off, carried away by the breeze, and the lamb returns to its mother's side, changed somehow by this brief encounter with something beautiful and fleeting. You realise you've been here for hours, though it feels like minutes. Or perhaps it's been minutes that feel like hours. The distinction has lost meaning. What matters is the accumulation of small moments. A sheep scratching its ear, another shaking its head, tags jingling. The constant, gentle sound of grass being torn, chewed, swallowed. The occasional bleat that seems to say nothing in particular, just announcing existence. The sun has shifted position, lengthening shadows across the hollow. The sheep are moving again, slowly, following some internal compass toward better grazing, or simply toward change for its own sake. They move as one organism, despite being individuals, flowing across the landscape like water finding its level. You don't follow. Your spot on the rock has become too comfortable, too perfectly suited to watching. One sheep pauses to look directly at you. Her gaze is neither curious nor alarmed. She simply acknowledges your presence, the way she might acknowledge a tree or a stone, as part of the landscape, belonging here as much as anything else. Then she returns to her grazing, having completed whatever assessment she needed to make. You've been accepted into this place, not as a visitor, but as a temporary part of its fabric. The afternoon stretches ahead, vast and unhurried. There's nowhere else to be, nothing else requiring your attention. Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're returning to the moorlands, to that peaceful hollow where a flock of sheep grazes beneath an endless sky. Let yourself sink deeper into comfort as we continue our unhurried afternoon among these gentle creatures. Take a slow breath and let's rejoin them. The afternoon stretches ahead, vast and unhurried. There's nowhere else to be, nothing else requiring your attention. A cloud passes overhead, momentarily dimming the sunlight. The temperature drops just slightly, barely noticeable, but the sheep respond. Several lift their heads, tracking the shadow's movement across the ground. When the sun returns seconds later, they lower their heads again, satisfied. This constant monitoring of the environment happens without thought. Ancient instincts reading changes you barely register. Near the stream, 2 sheep have discovered something interesting in the mud. They're nudging it with their noses, taking turns investigating. You can't see what's captured their attention, but their focus is complete. One paws at the ground, revealing darker soil beneath. The other leans in closer, sniffing deeply. Eventually, they lose interest and wander off, leaving the mystery unsolved. Some things don't need resolution. The lamb is growing drowsy. You can see it in the way its movements have slowed, in how it stays closer to its mother now. It makes a few half-hearted hops, but the energy from earlier has faded into something softer. Soon it will sleep, curled against its mother's side, protected and warm. But not yet. For now, it's fighting the pull of rest, determined to experience every moment of this day. A bird calls from somewhere beyond the hollow. Sharp and clear, the sound carries across the moor. Several sheep glance up, ears swivelling to pinpoint the source, but none seem alarmed. They know this sound, have heard it countless times. It's part of the moorland's vocabulary, the language of this place spoken in bleats and calls and wind through grass. The oldest sheep has moved to a different spot, higher up the slope. From there, she can see the entire flock spread below her. She chews methodically, her jaw working in that sideways motion, unique to sheep. There's something meditative about it, that constant grinding and chewing. It's work, yes, but work performed with such steadiness that it becomes almost restful to observe. 3 sheep are walking in single file along a narrow track worn into the hillside. They move with perfect spacing, each one exactly the same distance from the next. The path must be old, used by generations of sheep before them, their hooves gradually carving this line into the landscape. You wonder how many years it takes to create such a track, how many passages are required to wear stone and soil into submission. The stream catches your attention again. Its sound has become so familiar you'd stopped consciously hearing it, but now you tune back in. The water speaks in different tones depending on where it flows. Over smooth stones it whispers. Where it tumbles over a small drop, it chatters more urgently. In the deeper pools, it murmurs low and constant. The sheep drink from it without ceremony, lowering their heads, taking what they need, moving on. One sheep has separated from the main group, wandering toward a patch of vegetation that must taste different from the rest. She samples it carefully, testing. Her companions pay no attention to her departure. There's no anxiety about separation here, no concern about straying too far. They trust the flock will remain. That distance is temporary, but everyone will drift back together eventually, and they always do. The sun warms your face. You close your eyes for a moment, just feeling it. Behind your eyelids, the world glows orange. The sounds continue. Grass tearing, hooves on earth, the stream's endless conversation with itself, a sheep's quiet exhale. When you open your eyes again, nothing has changed, and yet everything feels slightly different. Perhaps it's just you who's changed, settled more deeply into this moment. A young sheep is scratching its side against a fence post at the hollow's edge. Back and forth, finding relief from some itch you'll never know about. The post is worn smooth in places from years of sheep doing exactly this. When satisfied, the sheep simply walks away, the itch forgotten, already focused on the next patch of grass. The lamb finally gives in to sleep. It's happened gradually, the way sleep often does when you're very young, and the day has been full. First it sat down, then it tucked its legs beneath itself. Now its head droops, chin nearly touching the ground. Its mother stands over it, a living shelter, and continues grazing. She'll stay close while it sleeps, moving only as much as necessary, letting her presence be the security it needs. You notice patterns in how the flock moves across the hollow. It's not random. They're following invisible lines of preference, places where the grass must taste sweeter, or the ground feels better beneath their hooves. They spiral slowly across the space, covering ground efficiently, without seeming to try. There's intelligence in it, collective knowledge about how to graze a piece of land properly, how to move in ways that sustain rather than deplete. The afternoon light has turned golden, not sunset yet, but heading that direction. The shadows have lengthened even more, stretching like dark fingers across the moor. The sheep seem unbothered by time's passage. They'll graze until they're ready to stop, until instinct tells them to seek shelter or simply rest where they stand. Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're continuing our gentle journey across the moorland, where a flock of sheep grazes peacefully in a quiet hollow. Let the sounds and rhythms of this place wash over you. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Just breathe, settle in, and let yourself drift. A breeze picks up, moving through the hollow like an invisible hand brushing across the landscape. It bends the grass in waves, rippling patterns that flow from one end of the space to the other. The sheep's wool shifts slightly, individual strands lifting and settling back down. One of the older ewes turns her face into the wind, nostrils flaring, as she reads whatever messages it carries. Information you can't access, but that means everything to her. Weather coming, other flocks nearby, the direction of home, though home is already here. The wind brings new scents, heather from the higher ground, something mineral from exposed rock faces miles away, the dampness of shaded places where moss grows thick and water collects in ancient depressions. You breathe it in, this library of landscape written in molecules too subtle for human consciousness to fully decode. Yet your body recognises something in it, something that says you're exactly where you should be. Below near the stream, 2 sheep have discovered a patch of clover growing between stones. They graze it methodically, heads close together, working in companionable silence. There's enough for both, neither rushes. When one moves slightly, the other adjusts without looking up, maintaining the comfortable distance that feels right to both of them. They've done this thousands of times, this dance of sharing space and resources without conflict. The lamb that was sleeping stirs, not fully awake yet, just shifting position, trying to find an even more comfortable arrangement of limbs and ground. Its mother glances down, confirms everything is well, returns to grazing. The protection she offers isn't anxious or hovering, it simply is, constant as gravity, requiring no thought or effort. You watch a beetle making its way across a flat stone near your feet. Its progress is determined, obstacle by obstacle. When it reaches the stone's edge, it pauses, antennae waving, calculating the gap to the next surface. Then it commits, tumbling slightly as it bridges the distance, righting itself immediately and continuing on. Purpose without urgency. The beetle has somewhere to be, but stress doesn't enter the equation. The stream's voice changes slightly as the breeze disturbs its surface. Tiny ripples form and dissolve, creating variations in the water's song. A sheep drinks again, breaking the surface tension, sending concentric circles outward that fade into nothing. Everything here is temporary and permanent at once. The stream is never the same water twice, yet it's always the stream. The grass is eaten and grows back. The sheep move and return. Something larger moves at the hollow's far edge. A hare sitting up on its haunches perfectly still, except for its nose twitching. It's been there for several minutes, you realise, but its stillness made it invisible until now. The sheep nearest to it show no concern. The hare is part of the landscape, another creature going about its business. No threat, no interest. After a long moment of assessment, the hare drops to all fours and lopes away, disappearing into the tall grass with barely a sound. The sun continues its slow arc. Light strikes different surfaces now, illuminating things that were in shadow before, casting into shade things that were bright moments ago. A rock face in the distance catches the golden light and seems to glow from within. The sheep moving across the hollow cast longer shadows than the sheep themselves, dark shapes stretching toward the east like echoes of their physical forms. One of the younger sheep discovers a patch of earth that must feel particularly good, because it lies down and rolls, legs kicking up at the sky. Its wool collects bits of dried grass and dust. When it stands again, shaking vigorously, small clouds puff off its coat. The sheep looks absurdly pleased with itself, though that might be projection. Maybe sheep don't feel pleasure in that way, or maybe they do, and their version of satisfaction is simply quieter than ours. The flock has shifted position again, that slow migration across available grazing. They've moved perhaps 20 feet in the last hour, but every inch has been covered, every blade of grass considered. Nothing is wasted, nothing is rushed. The efficiency isn't about speed, but about thoroughness, about paying attention to what's actually here, rather than hurrying toward what might be there. Your own breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of this place, deep and steady, without thinking about it. Your shoulders have dropped. The small tensions you carry in your jaw, your hands, the space between your eyebrows, have all softened. You're not trying to relax. You're simply allowing the more to set the pace, and your body is following. The sleeping lamb dreams, legs twitching slightly. What do sheep dream about? More grass, perhaps. Running for the joy of it. Or maybe their dreams are wordless impressions, feelings of safety and fullness, the warmth of sun and mother nearby. The lamb's ear flicks, responding to some dream stimulus, then stills again. Above, the first hint of evening begins. Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're continuing our peaceful afternoon on the English moorland, surrounded by grazing sheep in a quiet hollow where time moves differently. Let your thoughts settle like dust on a still day, and allow yourself to simply be present in this tranquil landscape. The sky isn't quite the same colour it was an hour ago, still blue, but softer now, as though someone has diluted it slightly with milk. The sun hangs lower, its light arriving at a different angle that transforms everything it touches. Shadows stretch longer, colours deepen. The moor takes on a richer quality, more golden, more amber in its greens and browns. A bird crosses overhead, wings beating in a steady rhythm, not hurrying, just travelling. Its shadow passes over the hollow, briefly darkening the grass before moving on. Several sheep glance up, tracking its progress with mild interest, then return to grazing. The threat assessment takes seconds. Not a predator, just another creature, sharing the sky. The stream continues its constant conversation with the stones. By now, that sound has become part of the silence rather than a break from it. White noise that soothes rather than disturbs. You could listen to it for hours and never grow tired of its variations. The way it gurgles over one rock, whispers past another, creates tiny waterfalls no bigger than your thumb. One sheep has wandered to the very edge of the hollow, standing at the boundary between the sheltered space and the wider moor beyond. It looks out across the expanse, chewing methodically, surveying its domain. The pose suggests contemplation, though what thoughts move through a sheep's mind remain mysterious. Perhaps it's simply enjoying the view. Perhaps that's thought enough. The mother sheep has moved closer to her sleeping lamb, not hovering, not anxious, just near. She grazes in slow circles around the small sleeping form, creating an invisible perimeter of protection. The lamb sleeps on, completely trusting, completely safe. That kind of security is rare. To sleep so deeply in the open air, with no walls, no doors, no barriers between yourself and the world, requires absolute faith in your surroundings. A butterfly appears, bright orange against the muted landscape. It flutters erratically, as butterflies do, following some invisible map only it can read. It investigates a wildflower, decides against it, moves to another. The sheep ignore it entirely. Too small to eat, too harmless to fear. The butterfly lands on a stone near the stream, wings opening and closing slowly, like breathing. Temperature shifts subtly as afternoon eases toward evening. Not cold, just less warm. The air feels different on your skin, lighter somehow. A few sheep shake themselves, their wool rippling in waves from head to tail. Others simply stand, eyes half closed, absorbing the last of the day's full warmth. The elderly sheep that was lying down earlier has finally risen, joints creaking in ways you can almost hear. It stretches, front legs extending, back arching, then settling. Age shows in the deliberateness of its movements, but there's no complaint, no resistance to what is. It simply moves as it can move, works with the body it has. More birds arrive, small ones this time, landing in the grass and hopping between sheep legs. They're searching for insects disturbed by the grazing, following the flock like tiny attendants. The sheep pay them no attention whatsoever. The birds peck and hop, finding whatever small meals the moor provides. Light continues to change, minute by minute, imperceptibly, unless you're paying attention. And you are paying attention now. Not in a focused, effortful way, but in the way you notice your own breathing, aware of it without controlling it. The moor teaches this kind of attention, patient, accepting, present. The sleeping lamb stirs, legs stretching, eyes opening to slits. It yawns, pink tongue curling, then closes its eyes again. Not ready to wake yet. The dream continues, or perhaps a new dream begins. The mother sheep glances down, confirms all is well, returns to grazing. Somewhere in the distance, another flock moves across a far hillside, too far away to hear, but visible as a white cluster against green. Other sheep, living their own version of this same slow afternoon. The moor holds many such scenes repeated in countless hollows, each one unique, each one essentially the same. Your own thoughts have quieted to nearly nothing. Not empty, exactly, but spacious. Room for observations to arise and pass without needing to be examined or held. The stream sounds, the sheep move, the breeze touches your face. These things happen, and you notice them, and they pass, and new moments arrive. The sun drops another degree. Light turns more golden, more rich, that particular quality that only exists in late afternoon. Everything looks painted, heightened, more vivid, and more peaceful at once. The moor glows. One sheep walks to the stream and drinks, water disappearing into its mouth in steady pools. Another joins it. They stand side by side, drinking together, then both raise their heads at the same moment, water dripping from their chins. Some silent agreement passes between them, and they turn away from the stream in unison, rejoining the flock. The hollow holds everything gently. The grass, the stones, the water, the sheep, the sleeping lamb, the moving clouds, the changing light. Nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. Everything simply is exactly as it should be, in this moment, in this place, under this vast and patient sky. Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. I'm Arthur, and tonight I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Pumby. We're spending our final moments in the moorland hollow, where the day draws to a close and the sheep prepare for evening. Let your body sink completely into rest as we watch the light fade and peace settle over everything. The sky deepens to a colour that has no single name. Blue still, but touched with violet now, with hints of rose along the horizon where the sun approaches the distant hills. Clouds catch the fading light and hold it, glowing soft pink and gold against the darkening sky. The sheep seem aware of the shift, some invisible signal telling them the day is ending. They begin to gather, not through any obvious coordination, but through that mysterious flock instinct that draws them together as darkness approaches. The ones who'd wandered far start drifting back toward the centre of the hollow. Movement remains unhurried, but there's purpose in it now. Safety in numbers as night comes. The lamb finally wakes fully, blinking against the golden light. It stands, wobbling slightly, then presses against its mother's side. She nuzzles it briefly, confirming its presence, then begins moving with the others toward a sheltered spot near the hollow's edge, where an outcropping of rock provides windbreak. The lamb follows, matching her pace, small hooves finding the same path hers take. Shadows pool in low places now, darkness gathering where the light can't reach. The stream reflects the sky, a ribbon of pink and gold, winding through the dimming landscape. Its sound remains constant, will continue through the night, through every night, measuring time in a language older than words. One by one, the sheep settle into their evening positions. They arrange themselves in loose clusters, some lying down, others standing, all oriented in roughly the same direction. The wind has died to almost nothing. Stillness descends like a blanket, soft and encompassing. The oldest sheep takes her place at the group's edge, that watchful position she's claimed for years. Her eyes scan the darkening moor once more, reading it for danger, finding none. Satisfied, she lowers her head, though she doesn't lie down. Some habits can't be broken, some vigilance remains even in the safest moments. The lamb curls against its mother, tucking itself into the warmth of her wool. Within seconds, it's asleep again. That easy surrender that comes with complete security. The mother sheep shifts slightly, accommodating its weight, then settles into stillness. Her breathing slows, deepens, not quite sleep yet, but approaching it. Above, the first star appears, then another, The sky transforms from blue to indigo, and the stars multiply, pinpricks of light spreading across the vast darkness. The moor below becomes a collection of shapes and shadows, the sheep barely visible now, white forms fading into the general darkness. Your own eyes grow heavy watching them. The day's observations have filled you with a deep, satisfied tiredness, the kind that comes from being fully present, from letting time move at its natural pace. The sheep are settling into sleep, and so can you. The hollow grows quiet, sounds fading to whispers, the stream's voice softens. The sheep's breathing creates a gentle rhythm, multiple heartbeats sinking into one slow pulse. Somewhere an owl calls, its voice carrying across the emptiness, answered by another far away. This is how days end here, not with fanfare or ceremony, but with gradual dimming, with creatures finding their resting places, with darkness spreading gently across the land. The sheep know this rhythm intimately. They've lived it every day of their lives, will live it every day to come. You rise from your rocks slowly, quietly, not wanting to disturb them, but they're already too deep in their evening, settling to notice. A few ears twitch as you move past, acknowledging your departure the same way they acknowledged your arrival, with calm acceptance. You're leaving, and that's fine. The moor will still be here. The sheep will still be here. This piece isn't going anywhere. Walking back along the path, you carry the day with you. The memory of sunlight on wool, of grass moving in wind, of the lamb's small perfect trust as it slept. The way time stretched and softened, becoming something you could hold rather than something that held you. That rhythm of the flock, breathing together, moving together, existing together in uncomplicated harmony. Dine! The moor fades behind you as darkness completes its work, but you'll return here whenever you need to, in memory, in dreams, in that space between waking and sleeping where the best stories live. The sheep will be there, grazing their eternal afternoon, teaching their lessons of patience and presence to anyone willing to watch and learn. Sleep comes easier after a day like this. Your body remembers the rhythm of the flock, that slow collective breathing. Your mind holds images of purple heather and golden light, of small lambs and ancient ewes, of a landscape where hurry has no place, and peace is simply the natural state of things. The moorland holds its creatures through the night, protective and constant. Tomorrow the sun will rise again, the sheep will graze again, the stream will flow, and the wind will blow, and everything will continue in its patient, perfect way. But that's tomorrow's story. For now, there's only this. Darkness, quiet, the deep satisfaction of a day fully lived, and the gentle pull of sleep that asks nothing except that you surrender to it, completely, the way the lamb surrendered to its mother's side, trusting everything, fearing nothing, simply allowing rest to come. And so it does.